Welcome to Headphone News, International Edition for Sunday, December 22nd, 2024.
Google's proposed changes amid antitrust case. Alphabet Incorporated, the parent company of Google, is making headlines with its proposed changes to agreements with Apple and other companies about the default search engine on new devices. This comes after a U.S. district judge in Washington, D.C. ruled that Google illegally controls the online search market, effectively holding a monopoly. Google's new plan is less drastic than the government's suggestion to sell its Chrome web browser. The company has urged Judge Amit Mehta to take a careful approach in restoring competition. The proposal aims to adjust distribution agreements with browser developers and mobile device manufacturers, which have given Google a significant edge by preloading its search engine on most devices in the U.S. To level the playing field, Google wants to make these agreements non-exclusive and separate its Play Store from Chrome and its search engine for Android manufacturers. Unlike the government's plan, Google's approach would keep revenue-sharing agreements, allowing it to share advertising profits with companies that set it as the default search engine. Independent developers like Mozilla, which makes the Firefox browser, stress that these funds are vital for their operations. In 2022, Apple reportedly earned about $20 billion from its deal with Google, highlighting the stakes involved. The upcoming trial in April 2025 will give the U.S. Department of Justice and a coalition of states the chance to argue for broader remedies against Google. The outcome could reshape the tech industry and how companies compete in the digital marketplace.
Scholz calls for swift resolution on EV tariff dispute with China. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz is calling for the European Union to quickly resolve the ongoing tariff dispute with China over electric vehicles. In a recent interview before the European Council summit in Brussels, he stressed that conflicts over this issue are counterproductive and urged all parties to reach a positive outcome. The EU faces pressure to finalize a deal with China, a key player in the global electric vehicle market. The Chinese Ministry of Commerce expressed hope that the EU will take concrete steps toward a price commitment plan for Chinese electric vehicles. Spokesperson He Yongqian reiterated China's commitment to resolving trade tensions through dialogue. Scholz also urged the European Commission to reconsider imposing financial penalties on EU car manufacturers that fail to meet carbon dioxide limits set for 2025. He argued that the current pressures on the automotive industry should not be worsened by additional fines. The European Green Deal aims for climate neutrality by 2050, targeting a 90% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions from transportation. Stricter EU emissions rules will take effect in 2025, requiring automakers to limit CO2 emissions to an average of 93.6 grams per kilometer. Those exceeding this limit could face fines of €95 for each gram over, with estimates suggesting European automakers could face penalties totaling €15 billion for non-compliance. Volkswagen, Germany's largest automaker, is particularly at risk. These discussions highlight the delicate balance between environmental regulations and the economic realities of the automotive industry. As the EU and China continue negotiations, the outcome will significantly impact both regions' automotive sectors and their efforts to combat climate change.
Protests in Seoul over impeached President Yoon Yeol. On December 21, 2024, massive protests erupted in Gwanghwamun, a central area of Seoul, South Korea. Thousands gathered to express their support for and opposition to President Yoon Yeol, who faced impeachment after controversially declaring martial law on December 3, a decision he quickly rescinded. This declaration raised serious concerns about democracy and governance, leading to claims of rebellion against Yoon. Protests drew tens of thousands of young demonstrators, many in their 20s and 30s, who voiced their frustration. They waved K-pop light sticks and held signs demanding Yoon's arrest. One protester, 27-year-old Cho Sung-hyo, criticized Yoon for ignoring democratic principles, insisting he should step down if he has a conscience. In contrast, several thousand pro-Yoon supporters, mostly older and conservative, gathered to oppose the impeachment. They argued that the process was influenced by socialist and communist elements. Among them was businessman Lee Young-soo, 62, who claimed the parliamentary elections were rigged and stressed the need to support the president. The political climate in South Korea remains tense, with the Constitutional Court set to hold its first hearing on Yoon's impeachment. The outcome could greatly affect how the government operates and public trust in political institutions. These protests highlight a deep division in public opinion, which may shape future political decisions and leadership in South Korea.
Convictions in France for the murder of teacher Samuel Paty. A French court has sentenced 8 individuals to prison terms ranging from 1 to 16 years for their involvement in a hate campaign that led to the tragic murder of Samuel Paty, a history teacher. This incident unfolded in October 2020 when Paty showed cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad during a class on freedom of expression, sparking outrage among some in the Muslim community. On October 16, 2020, an 18-year-old Chechen named Abdullah Anzarov attacked Paty outside his school in Conflans-Saint-Honorine, a suburb of Paris. Anzarov brutally stabbed and beheaded Paty before being shot dead by police shortly after. The court's ruling, reported on December 21, 2024, highlights the severe consequences of inciting hatred. Among those convicted, Brahim Chnaina received a 13-year sentence for spreading false accusations against Paty, claiming he had disciplined his daughter for voicing concerns about the class. Abdulhakim Sefrioui, the founder of a hardline Islamist group, was sentenced to 15 years for inciting hatred against Paty. 2 associates of Anzarov, Naim Boudaoud and Azim Epsirkanov, were also convicted and received 16-year sentences for their roles in the murder. The murder of Samuel Paty has ignited passionate discussions about the limits of freedom of expression, especially regarding religious sensitivities. Many Muslims view any depiction of the Prophet Muhammad as blasphemous, complicating conversations about artistic expression and cultural respect. This case raises important questions about the integration of Muslim communities in France and the balance between security and individual rights. The legal actions following Paty's murder emphasize the need to address hate speech and misinformation in our diverse society. These convictions serve as a stark reminder of the ongoing challenges in promoting understanding and tolerance among different cultural and religious groups.
Chinese nationals arrested in Guam amid missile defense test. 7 Chinese nationals were arrested on December 10th and 11th, 2024, for unlawfully entering Guam, a key U.S. territory in the Pacific. Their arrests coincided with an important missile test by the U.S. Missile Defense Agency at Andersen Air Force Base. The U.S. plans to invest up to $10 billion over the next decade to strengthen its air and missile defense in Guam, aiming to complicate potential missile attacks from adversaries. The Institute for the Study of War warns that spying on U.S. military sites could provide China with valuable intelligence. Authorities revealed that all arrested individuals arrived on the same boat from Saipan, another island in the Northern Mariana Islands. The investigation is ongoing, and the successful missile test on December 10th sets the stage for more tests in the future. This situation underscores rising tensions between the United States and China regarding military activities in the region, raising serious concerns about security and espionage.
Syria's new defense minister and political shift. Syria is experiencing a dramatic shift in power with the appointment of Mirhaf Abu Khazra as the new defense minister, following the removal of Bashar al-Assad, who ruled for over 13 years. This announcement came on December 21, 2024. Abu Khazra is a notable figure in the Islamist group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, which played a critical role in capturing Damascus on December 8, 2024. The new government, led by Prime Minister Mohammed al-Bashir, plans to integrate former rebel factions and defectors from Assad's army into the defense ministry. This transitional government will last for 3 months, focusing on stability and improving international relations to foster peace in Syria. Ahmed al-Shara, the de facto leader, has emphasized the urgent need for reconstruction and economic development during discussions with armed factions. The ongoing civil war has led to a humanitarian emergency, with hundreds of thousands dead and millions displaced. These political changes reflect the hopes of the Syrian people for a stable government that can address their challenges. As the situation evolves, the international community's response remains uncertain, but there is growing hope for a brighter future in Syria. What does this mean for the people of Syria? The world watches closely as new leaders take charge.
Investigation of Chinese ship linked to Baltic Sea cable damage. A Chinese bulk carrier, the Yipeng-3, is under investigation for damaging 2 fiber optic cables in the Baltic Sea. This incident took place on November 17 and 18, 2024, disrupting vital connections between Finland and Germany, as well as Sweden and Lithuania. After being stationary in a Danish shipping lane for over a month, the ship resumed its journey to Port Said, Egypt on December 21, 2024. The Swedish Coast Guard confirmed the ship's movement after China allowed representatives from Germany, Sweden, Finland and Denmark to board the vessel alongside Chinese investigators, ending a month-long standoff. The Baltic Sea is essential for international shipping and communication, and the right for ships to navigate freely complicates investigations like this one. German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius has expressed concerns about potential sabotage related to the cable breaches. The focus of the investigation is on the Yipeng-3, which departed from U.S. Tuluga, a Russian port, on November 15, 2024. This incident underscores the importance of maritime security and international cooperation in tackling threats to communication infrastructure. As the investigation continues, authorities remain watchful to ensure the safety of maritime operations in the Baltic Sea. What could this mean for global connectivity?
Genetically modified mosquitoes. A new hope against malaria. Scientists are exploring an exciting new approach to combat malaria using genetically modified mosquitoes to deliver vaccines. Malaria is a serious global health threat, claiming around 597,000 lives in 2023, with most deaths occurring in African countries. Each year, over 240 million cases are reported, particularly affecting children and expectant mothers. Researchers from Leiden University Medical Center and Radboud University in the Netherlands are at the forefront of this innovative strategy. They are testing a vaccine that uses a weakened strain of Plasmodium falciparum, the parasite responsible for the deadliest form of malaria in humans. In a recent clinical trial, scientists evaluated an injectable vaccine derived from a modified parasite called PFSBZGA1. While this vaccine was found to be safe and delayed malaria onset, it didn't completely prevent the disease. In a follow-up trial, participants received mosquito-delivered versions of 2 vaccines, GA1 and a modified version known as GA2. Remarkably, 89% of those who received the GA2 vaccine developed immunity. The trials involved 67 participants from Leiden and Nijmegen who were bitten by mosquitoes, some carrying modified parasites. This method mimics natural malaria transmission, aiming to trigger a strong immune response. If successful, this groundbreaking method could revolutionize vaccine delivery and significantly improve public health in malaria-endemic regions. However, ethical considerations surrounding genetically modified organisms may influence public acceptance. Ongoing research is vital to ensure the safety and effectiveness of these innovative solutions in the fight against malaria.
U.S. military aid to Taiwan amid rising tensions. U.S. President Joe Biden has approved a significant military aid package for Taiwan, totaling $571 million. This move comes as Taiwan faces increasing military pressure from China, which claims the island as its own. The U.S. State Department has also authorized a potential sale of military equipment worth $265 million to bolster Taiwan's defense capabilities. Taiwan operates independently with its own government and democratic elections, home to about 23 million people. The U.S. has a long-standing policy of supporting Taiwan, especially given China's growing military activities in the region. In addition to the aid, the U.S. has allocated $30 million for parts related to 76mm autocannons, enhancing Taiwan's defense systems. Taiwanese Defense Ministry expressed gratitude for this support, emphasizing its importance for peace in the Taiwan Strait. This military assistance highlights the ongoing tensions between the U.S. and China. The U.S. aims to reassure its allies in the Indo-Pacific while countering China's assertive actions. Concept of gray zone warfare, which involves tactics that blur the lines between peace and conflict, is increasingly relevant here. However, this support may escalate tensions with China, which has reacted strongly to U.S. involvement in Taiwan's defense. Biden's decision could impact regional stability and international relations, underscoring the delicate balance of power in the Asia-Pacific. As the situation evolves, both the U.S. and China will continue to navigate their complex relationship.
U.S. Congress passes Social Security Fairness Act. On December 21, 2024, the United States Congress passed the Social Security Fairness Act, a groundbreaking law aimed at increasing retirement payments for certain retirees. The Senate voted 76-20 in favor, showing strong support from both parties, following a decisive House vote of 327-75 in November. This new law seeks to eliminate outdated rules that have cut benefits for individuals receiving public pensions, impacting many municipal employees like firefighters and postal workers. About 2.5 million Americans could see hundreds of dollars more in federal benefits each month. However, concerns are rising about the financial impact of this legislation. Experts estimate it will cost around $196 billion over the next decade, which could strain the already fragile Social Security program. Critics, including Republican Senator Ted Cruz from Texas, warn that this bill might threaten the interests of seniors who rely on Social Security, especially as the trust fund is projected to run out in just 9 years. Supporters, like Democratic Senator Michael Bennet from Colorado, argue that the long-term financial stability of Social Security can be addressed later, emphasizing the urgent need for relief for retirees affected by current policies. As this legislation awaits President Joe Biden's signature, its outcome could significantly impact millions of Americans who depend on Social Security for their financial well-being.
Abkhazia's humanitarian crisis amid energy shortages. Abkhazia, a breakaway region of Georgia on the Black Sea coast, is grappling with a dire humanitarian crisis due to critical electricity shortages. Badr Gunba, the leader who claims to be president, warns that the region may soon face a humanitarian catastrophe, with residents enduring power outages lasting 9 to 11 hours each day. This crisis began in early December 2024 when low water levels at the Inguri hydroelectric dam forced an emergency shutdown, leading the state energy company, Chernomorenergo, to cut electricity supplies to less than 3 hours daily. These energy shortages are hitting hard, severely impacting essential services like healthcare and education. Gunba emphasizes that prolonged power cuts are harmful to these systems. The situation is further complicated by political turmoil, as protests erupted last month against an investment agreement with Russia, resulting in the resignation of former President Aslan Barzania. Gunba, who was vice president at the time, stepped in as interim leader amid the chaos. Abkhazia's political landscape is shaped by its status as a region considered independent by Russia following a brief war with Georgia in 2008. The region has faced ongoing challenges, including the suspension of social payments from Moscow that previously supported state employees like doctors and teachers. In addition to the energy crisis, local lawmakers are preparing to debate legislation to ban cryptocurrency mining, which has worsened the electricity problems due to its high energy consumption. The situation in Abkhazia highlights the critical link between energy supply, political stability, and the well-being of its residents. What would you do if your home lost power for hours every day?
Pope Francis condemns Gaza airstrikes amid humanitarian crisis. Pope Francis has strongly condemned the Israeli airstrikes in Gaza during a recent address to Catholic cardinals in Vatican City. His comments followed criticism from Israeli Minister of Diaspora Affairs Amichai Chikli, who took issue with the Pope's suggestion that these military actions could be seen as genocide against the Palestinian people. The Pope expressed deep sorrow over the heartbreaking loss of life, stating, "Yesterday, children were bombed. This is cruelty. This is not war." The conflict escalated on October 7, 2023, when Hamas launched an attack on southern Israel, resulting in around 1,200 deaths, mostly civilians. In retaliation, Israel has carried out military operations in Gaza, reportedly killing over 45,000 people, primarily civilians, according to sources in the Hamas-controlled region. This ongoing violence has led to significant displacement, affecting nearly the entire population of Gaza. As the leader of the Roman Catholic Church, which has over 1.4 billion members worldwide, Pope Francis has increasingly voiced his concerns about humanitarian issues. His remarks highlight the urgent need for compassion toward civilians caught in this long-standing conflict. While the Israeli government defends its actions as necessary for national security, it faces mounting criticism over the high civilian death toll. Chikli emphasized that the term genocide should not be taken lightly, arguing that Israel is acting in self-defense against Hamas, which he claims uses civilians as shields. The Israeli Foreign Ministry reiterated that any loss of innocent life is a tragedy and that Israel strives to minimize civilian casualties. The humanitarian situation in Gaza is dire, with many civilians lacking access to basic necessities. The Pope's remarks aim to draw global attention to this crisis and encourage action. As the conflict continues, the international community remains divided, with some nations supporting Israel's right to defend itself while others condemn the violence against Palestinian civilians. The Pope's call for compassion serves as a powerful reminder of the human cost of war and the urgent need for a peaceful resolution.
Mexico's push to ban genetically modified corn. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum is optimistic that Congress will soon approve a ban on planting genetically modified corn. This comes after a trade dispute panel ruled that Mexico's restrictions on U.S. GM corn violate the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement, known as USMCA. Sheinbaum highlighted the need to protect Mexico's rich biodiversity, as corn is deeply rooted in the country's culture and agriculture. Mexico is the largest foreign buyer of U.S. yellow corn, with imports expected to hit a record 22.3 million metric tons this crop season. Critics argue that the safety of GM crops for health and the environment is still uncertain. In February 2023, Sheinbaum issued a decree banning GM corn for tortillas and dough, sparking a trade conflict with the U.S. While the Mexican government disagreed with the panel's ruling, it pledged to respect the decision. Proposed ban could boost local supplies of non-GM corn but won't stop imports of GM varieties. This ongoing debate reflects broader concerns about agricultural practices and environmental protection in Mexico. As Congress prepares to legislate on this issue, the stakes for farmers, consumers, and trade relations with the U.S. are significant.
U.S. Senate passes crucial funding bill. On December 21, 2024, the United States Senate took decisive action by passing a crucial funding bill, successfully averting a potential government shutdown. With 85 votes in favor and 11 against, this strong bipartisan support highlights a rare moment of cooperation in a divided Congress. This funding bill is essential for maintaining federal operations and disaster aid. It now awaits President Joe Biden's signature. The urgency for this legislation arose from ongoing discussions about the federal budget and the debt ceiling, which limits how much the government can borrow. President-elect Donald Trump had previously threatened to block the bill unless an increase in the debt ceiling was included, putting pressure on House Speaker Mike Johnson and other lawmakers to find common ground. As the clock struck midnight on the day of the vote, the White House announced that preparations for a government shutdown had been halted, signaling a positive outcome for millions of Americans. Mike Johnson expressed satisfaction with the result, noting that he had communicated with Trump, who was reportedly pleased with the resolution. While this funding bill is a temporary fix, it pushes the debate over the debt ceiling into the new year. The implications of this decision extend beyond government operations, affecting public services and economic stability. A government shutdown would have led to the closure of essential services and furloughs for federal employees, impacting countless lives. Understanding the debt ceiling is crucial, as it restricts the government's ability to borrow money, potentially delaying funding for vital services. The strong bipartisan support for this bill may indicate a willingness among lawmakers to work together on future legislation, which is essential for maintaining stability in governance. This event underscores the ongoing challenges the U.S. government faces in managing its budget and ensuring continuity of services for its citizens.
UK financial aid to Ukraine. The United Kingdom is stepping up to support Ukraine with a vital aid package of over £2 billion British pounds, or about $2.5 billion US dollars. This funding comes from frozen Russian assets and aims to bolster Ukraine's military efforts and help rebuild infrastructure damaged by the ongoing conflict with Russia. This initiative was agreed upon by the G7 nations, which include Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the UK, and the US. The Russian embassy in London has condemned this move, calling it a fraudulent scheme to seize Russian state assets. British Defence Minister John Healey stressed that these funds will be used exclusively for military needs, including developing advanced drones. Meanwhile, the Russian Foreign Ministry has criticized the U.S. for transferring $50 billion US dollars in loans to Ukraine, labeling it simply robbery. This financial aid highlights the international community's commitment to supporting Ukraine during this challenging time.
That is all the news for today. Thank you for listening to today's Headphone News. News summary brought to you by AI.